Shortcuts versus sincerity. Shortcuts instead of sincerity. Watching here on, if you're watching on YouTube Live, or you're watching at a later time and date on another platform, whenever you're viewing this, and you being the benevolent collective in this universe, I do not consent to any energy exchange with trash bags in this motherfucker. Okay? No trash, no karmics. If you are karmics and trash that come onto this video at any point, I do not consent to you and anything you own. I do not consent to you viewing me. I do not consent to exchange of energy with you. I do not consent to any form of energy manipulation and exploitation. Don't consent to your sorcery and trickery. I don't consent to your mind fucks. I don't consent to none of your shit. And I decree and declare and command all of your trash you will eat, you will get in abundance for every ounce of your fuckery. I don't care if you're only 20. Your parents should have helped you, should have taught you better. I'm sorry if your parents are trash as well. May they get the trash they deserve as well. And so it is. Now, to those of you that I'm actually addressing, like I said, to the legit mofos in this universe, we're going to talk about, as a targeted individual, some of the things you start to unravel over time. You go through so many different phases. Most targeted individuals are survivors of narcissistic abuse of some sort. Okay. And you start to, all of this stuff was designed to make you question your worth and value. Why am I always getting trashy relationships? Why am I, friends always get weird, co-workers always get weird, bosses always get weird. You really start to, it's designed, it's by design. I just need to emphasize that. That's the psychological head fuck. Okay? It's by design to make you either question if it's you, and then if that doesn't work, it's to make you kind of like give up on life, and kind of they're hoping that all of this fuckery, that's what it's to do to you. Okay? But as you heal through that, for some of you who heal through that phase, who survives all of their illusions, because I call them masters of illusions, because they ain't shit but illusionists that are playing tricks, word salad, word magic, sleight of the eye. That's the greatest deception of all. Is trickery. That's the greatest magic trick, is that it ain't even shit. Ooh, anyway. So, yeah. It's just what can they convince you of? What can they convince you of? And as a result, get you to do or not do. You see that? Okay. So you will get to this phase where you're like, you're evaluating which healthy, normal people do. Okay. You start to evaluate like, okay, what is that? So the title says shortcuts instead of sincerity. So as a targeted individual, what you'll come to realize, or should realize, is that the powers that be, or the individuals, whether this is, on a micro or macro scale, or all and both and everything in between, they exploit the lack of character in majority of America. Okay? If you are in the United States of America. Now, if you're somewhere else, then I can't really reference that. I can only reference, my experience. So they bank on the lack of integrity. They bank on the scarcity mindset. They bank on the narcissistic control programming, the brainwashing, the colonization. They exploit that about majority. And listen, because see, some of these people really are convinced. Like, let me help you. They're convinced. Some of these people actually think they're good people. I'm just gonna say it. They do. They themselves, they family, their whole little crew, their whole little clique have convinced themselves that they're good people. That's brainwashing, ain't it for you? Boy, that's some powerful brainwashing. Cause how you good people on some trash bag shit. So that's another video for another day. But they bank on that lack of integrity, scarcity mindset. Because I believe they study just how they're studying you as a targeted individual. They're studying all of their imps. They before they become their imps. They're studying. Hear me out. Because how are you going to be effective at what you're doing? How are you going to be effective? You got to know, you have to go in with something. So what do you have to do in order to be effective? You have to study the object. Okay, and I hate to say object, I'm referencing human beings, but that's how they treat the targeted individual, and it's also how they treat those that they are recruiting to do the abusing. They do the background on them. They do the same kind of scanning, see what they like and dislike, see what holes is in their life. Do they have a rap sheet? See what kind of relationships they have. See, what their credit is, their finances is, their greatest desires and their greatest fears. Okay? And they just simply lean into people who are looking for shortcuts. I was going somewhere with the title, okay? Somebody's going to say shortcuts instead of sincerity. So people who, have learned to, as a standard of living, it could have started out as a survival mechanism, okay? It could have started out as, you just trying to survive, you're just trying to keep alive, you're just trying to make it. But as a result, they stayed there. They somehow discovered that, oh, look at what can happen. Look at what you can do. And they stayed there. It became their template and standard of life. So they go about looking for ways to have a shortcut, even if it's lacking moral fiber. Okay, because most people, you want some kind of shortcut. If you can get something faster, why not? But within reason, and you're not trying to remove moral fiber in the name of it. You see what I'm saying? You're trying, like, okay, I have a limit. There's a limit, okay, that I'm willing to go in order to have a shortcut. Okay, that's when you're holding to your morals, to your humanity. You're trying to hold to that after coming out of any kind of a tragedy or scarcity mindset or just survival mode. But these individuals live like that. It's the way of life for them, and they stay there. So this is why you have dealt with the things you've dealt with. People have struggled, so they'll target struggling motherfuckers. I'm telling you what I know. It's going to be a few different angles they take. They're going to target, because struggling motherfuckers is the easiest ones that's going to be ride or die for some shit, because they ain't got shit and they ain't got nothing to lose. Okay, they ain't got shit. So for them, they ain't, well, shit. Okay, well, I don't have nothing to start with. So if it, if it falls or if it flops, they're used to nothing. The only thing that they may have concern about is jail time or something like that, or something. Yeah. Okay. So this is why. Okay. Nothing to do with you. Absolutely nothing. And I mean that 100%, nothing to do with you at all, at all. And in most cases, these people don't know you well enough to dislike you. They don't know you well enough. Most of you, you know what I'm saying, haven't had enough, even enough experiences personally with some of these people. You haven't had enough experiences and encounters for them to actually have a legitimate, you see where I'm going? That's what should let you know. It's like, okay. In some cases, it's blurry because, like, in the case of, if it's a little bit up close and personal, like siblings, um, you know, um, bosses, co-workers, you know, those types of things. What's driving them is their jealousy and insecurity on top of shortcut mentality. Okay, their jealousy and insecurity and looking at you as a possible threat because people, listen to me, people with a scarcity mindset, and I don't care if they got $1 million in their bank account as I speak, people with a scarcity mindset looks at, it depends on what their issues are because they're different, certain things as a direct threat to their way of life. And if you hold, I don't care what, it depends. If you hold the energy, the frequency, whatever this is, okay, well, this will be their driving force to go ahead and go ahead and take that dealy deal, to go ahead and betray you, to go ahead and sell you out, to go ahead to take that deal for Ford Focus. and and use that Ford Focus to get you off focus. Anyway, let me stop playing. So this is why you've dealt with so many people who lack sincerity. And I do want to say this, okay? You, collective, as a targeted individual, you know full well you're not perfect. And that's never been something you've ever expected out of people either. You know full well you make mistakes and people make mistakes. You know full well everybody tells a lie. You know that. And so your stance where you are has nothing to do with the standard, basic, normal things of life. It's an abuser's slick way to, as standard, clump together, all in one category, toxicity versus humanity. Okay? Premeditation versus an era in the moment or something done out of survival in the moment within limits on that too, because how far do you go with that survival? You start killing motherfuckers. Like at some point it's got to be like, okay, everybody trying to survive, but everybody ain't out here, you know what I'm saying, doing away with their humanity. Everybody is not out here on some retarded shit because they want to be rich. I want to be rich. Everybody ain't on that. You know what I'm saying? Or they want, because everybody's motives are different, they get into it. Like I said, I heard some woman one day say something like, yeah, I want that fountain of youth, so they sickos, you ain't getting shit. You're going to drive like old haggard like you should. Okay? Old haggly. That's what some of these people, they're too obsessed with that shit. That's the problem. They don't care nothing about their insides whatsoever. Trash. Just trash, 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 trash. Just trash. Just cold trash. Just trash, 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 trash to the 13th power. Trash. That's all they are. They don't care nothing about, am I a good, what kind of person, what kind of example? I have children, I have grandchildren, outside of leaving them a big ass house and money, what kind of real legacy am I leaving our trashy ancestral ways of being colonizers? Woof, woof. Am I really leaving an imprint on them that, hey, as long as you get paid, as long as you get paid, As long as you're paying the bills and putting food on the table, then hey, it's okay. So, shortcuts. People want to feel relevant, you know. Sometimes, like I said, they're banking, they study the people that they get to stalk you. They find out what the holes and the leverage the same way they do you. The same way. And I, like I said, even on a small time scale, this is not just macro, it's micro. You know, because if you're dealing with narcissistic personality types who have lived this way most of their time, most of their life, they practice these things too. And here's the kicker: if they know you already as a person that they're recruiting to do shit, well, that their job was just easier because they already know you. You see that? They already know you. So they don't got to study, they don't really have to study much because their study has been the time span in which they've been knowing you. And they use that. Hey, and then here they're gonna start whispering in your ear. I'm talking about the people that they're recruiting to betray the targeted individuals or set up the targeted individuals or do whatever weirdy shit they're asking them to do to the targeted individuals. Okay. So, and they'll it'll be critiqued. They gotcha. If you have addictions, listen to me. If you have addictions, that's the favorite. That's the bread and butter. Now I know people are tired of hearing it, but just for one moment, let's take emotion, our personal emotions and feelings, just for a second and put a pin in and think logical. Just all brain, all intellect, just for a few seconds. Logically speaking, wouldn't that be, when you're talking about criminality, wouldn't that be the route to go? I mean, I know this people don't want to hear it, but I'm like, but wouldn't it though? Ain't that the jackpot? Because addiction, listen to the term addiction, look into what is implied when we're saying addiction, and study the effects of addiction, okay, on the brain and behavior. So then if we are able to do that, then it helps us to understand, like, that does make sense to lean there if it's possible, because that's going to be your bread and butter, that's going to be the glue, that's going to be the foundation, that's going to be the driving force. As example, if they know somebody is addicted to sex. Sex is a common addiction. I'm not going to talk about why I believe that's so. I'm not going to talk about the depths of that, because I've gone there. I wanted to know for myself. Okay? Because, and here's another thing, sex is something that's also natural and a good thing. This is why I feel like it's one of their favorites to use, if it's possible. Because unlike drugs, alcohol, gambling, shopping addictions, unlike these types of things, this appears to be something that is just natural to the human experience. This is something that is meant to be a bonding agent, and it's a beautiful, because it's a beautiful thing. It can be, I should say. So this is one of the easiest, most popular, because it creates a bonding agent which obscures judgment. Now, that's not an opinion. If you do your own research on it, you'll find exactly what I'm saying. Okay? This ain't no woo 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 wooey. If you do your own shit, you'll find out what I'm saying. Okay? On top of the fact that most of us as a culture, now I'm gonna lean strong over here into African American melanated. I'm gonna lean hard there for a second. Okay? Whether we want to hear the I don't even care no more, nigga. I don't even care no more, nigga. I don't even care. I don't even care. I don't care. I don't care. Because I don't care. It is what it is. They gonna hear it is. They gonna hear it is. So slavery. Slavery. What did they do? And this is not a video about slavery. We ain't gonna go all deep into that, but I have to draw in the elements here and I'll do it full circle. Okay. Slavery. What slavery? The melanated culture. Slavery. In the South. Dirty South. Dirty, dirty. Okay. They take the people from where they're from. They strip them of everything, strip them of their language, everything, everything, everything. Doesn't allow them to learn or anything where they are. Force them into forced labor, into harsh living conditions and beat downs. What's the one, what are the few pleasures that this population gets to experience during this time? I want somebody to answer that question. What are the few outlets and the few pleasures they get to have? Okay? The few outlets, the few pleasures. There's three. When they decided to so-called teach them how to read or be okay with allowing them to read, it was through the Bible, and then as a result through the practices in which they were granted to do praise and worship services and sermons and all of those things, which was energy harvesting, but that's another video too. That was one of the outlets. Because of the torturous traumas in which they're living, that is which is their life at the time. Okay. The other one, as disgusting as it may seem to us later, umpteen thousand years later, I'm being exaggerating, is food. You know, they were given the slop. Okay, the slop, what all that, you know, the massa and his people didn't want. And so what they did was become very creative with that to make it taste good. And, you know, because, you know, fat tastes good, you know. I mean, I'm just, listen, fat tastes good, right? So you're when you're given these pigs and all of these things, and that's what you have, and you're cooking it for you and your family, you making it do what they do, and lo and behold, it actually tastes good, because the shit that's bad for us tastes good. Let's not pretend like fat tastes good. Greasy, salty shit. Okay? Tastes good, bitch. Huh? Whoa. So, that's the second thing. Lastly, sex. So, and they were, you know, you would say like they didn't want to take away that pleasure. Hell to the no. They're not taking away that pleasure because that pleasure produces more slaves. But you can bet your bottom dollar that's the only reason and why they didn't restrict it. Because it was going to produce more slave labor for them, more shit that they did not have to do. Okay? Now, fast forward, because this is in your DNA, baby. It's in your epigenetics. Ah, it's in there. So when you fast forward to 2025, and you're dealing with the melanated population, African American population, as it pertains to targeted individuals and those they recruit to be a part of it that are also melanated and African American. I'm not saying that other people don't have addiction. That's not where we're going with that. Because I know some Caucasians that they pull in on it, okay? I'm just speaking on how they lean into those things. It's in you. And if you've had a torturous hell of a life, it's not too much different than slavery time. It has a different outfit. It has a different appearance, okay? Because you're not in a hut somewhere, you know what I'm saying? But if you look at how they've manufactured some of our lives, so push you into slave labor, push you into restriction if you refuse to obey their slave labor, push you into, you know what I'm saying, torturous, inhospitable, hostile environments. And you think you're just having bad luck and it's a curse. No, you got trash bag degenerates, baby, that are behind it, walking up and down the sidewalk as as I'm doing this video, that are all colors: white, black, brown, a Chinese, all the colors. Because that don't matter, honey. They know you're live. They get to walking dogs, baby. Anywho, and all of a sudden the street gets busy. The car is coming 2 times, 3 times. Are you lost? Do you need help? Anyway, are you okay? I'm gonna put one of their moves. Are you okay? So now, as I was saying, they know people are ridden down with trauma that they don't even know that they have because they're colonized. Mic drop. It is what it is. They know. They know. And that's the only escape from their torturous life. That empty, gnawing feeling of dissatisfaction, their frustration, that is what they have become accustomed of at that nigga. That is what they didn't become accustomed to. It was drilled from trauma, from slavery. You deal with your woes by fucking. That's the only oxytocin, bitch, you're getting in them parts. You deal with your frustration by eating. You deal with your frustration, those who didn't do that, by going there to the hut that they call the place of the temple, in which they're allowing you to learn how to read the Bible. So those who didn't want to lean into the fucking as much, or the eating, it's like, you go into this wooden church and you cry and beg God and sing the songs of "We shall overcome, we shall overcome, we shall overcome someday." Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday. That's why we should be offended. That's why people don't even know their ancestors rolling their eyes at them retarded ass, sitting there thinking they talking their ancestors. Your ancestors ain't talking to you. If the ones who are talking to you are still colonized. They didn't make it. They still colonized. They still working for massa. But the ones who ain't, the ones that ain't, they rolling their eyes at a whole lot of these niggas out here. Like, nigga, Negro, please. You trash. You just like the rest of this shit out here. You a fucking sellout. You want to be a house slave. That's what your ass is. You trash. And you know, and they may have had compassion on some of these folks, like wanting them to heal and evolve and see. But you know, it's like at some point there's a stamp in a moment of time where they realize, like, okay, no, they don't really care about that. What they care about is feeding their addiction, keeping that fed, and you know, stunting and fronting and all of that. That's what they own. They don't care about, you know, they're being used to fucking hurt they own. They're not into it. They're only into that, the fake version. And that's going to be my next video, where we're going to talk about they want false, this Christianity matrix shit versus Christ consciousness. That's going to be my next video. Okay, because that's what these bitches and niggas want. They ain't want, they ain't on no real shit. They ain't on no real shit. Okay? Whoop. Um, so the lack of sincerity, these people want shortcuts in life, and it was at your expense. And, you know, I hate to say that, unfortunately, it was just all business. Because when you're dealing with transactional mindset people, you're objectified to that, a ledger. You are, your children are. You're objectified to a ledger, dollars and cents, just business. Okay? None of that about you being a person like they're a person. You bleed like they bleed. You have none of that. That's not a factor. The factor is, this is business and I want this here shit. Scarcity mindset. It's primitive. It's a reveal that most people are still primitive, and even people who think they're woke are primitive. It's something I'm learning. Like, they think they woke because they have a bunch of like knowledge base and factoids, and they went to Egypt, bitch, and they, you know, it's like people be tripping out with that, nigga. I don't care that you went to Egypt, nigga. Because when we're talking about consciousness, this does not have to do with just your travel stamps on the globe. Is, and what have you done with that other than try to capitalize on it? And what the fuck have you done with that in terms of your consciousness? Because if your consciousness is getting as evolved as you say it is, your get up changes, baby. And it doesn't change just for the aesthetics and externals or for a PR stunt. It changes. Feel beyond that. I went to Egypt, and we was like over there and shit, whooping. It was the bomb. I'm glad. That's nice. That's fun. And now, okay, is you still crazy though? Is you still a nut? Huh? Is you still looking for? Is you still looking for ways to come up on the light beings? Then you ain't a light being, nigga. Huh? Just go ahead, own that, live it, swallow it, chew it, love it. Okay? Be glad. Accept your state of being. Wear your badge. Wear your badge. Anyway, let me get back to what I'm saying. So I hope, you know, I know that that's not going to take away if you're a target individual that comes to see this at some point. This is crummy, but it does alleviate all of the fog is going to dissipate because of this. Some of it. It was never you. That's what I mean by that. It was never you. All of this shit has been one big game. It was never you. It was a torture program. And it was these programs and the fact that most people are plugged in to these programs and most people are in those states of beings in which I just previously stated. And that explains why. You were dealing with addicts and they exploited these people's addictions. You were dealing with people with scarcity mindset and they exploited that. You were dealing with people with lots of insecurities and jealousies about you and they wanted to be you. They super exploited that. For some of us, with this, the shortcuts versus sincerity, some of you, unfortunately, you didn't even know. That's why I tell people, like, we don't really know, especially as a melanated culture. You can get the ancestries and the 23, we can get those things, and I believe that may serve in some way, okay? However, we have to keep in mind that honey, it's just, ooh wee. Mm. Mm. Whew. We don't know who we are in this, let me rephrase that, in the context of this physical form. But not only that, some of us were kidnapped. We all take for granted that all these people have been honest with us all our days. That's a spell in itself. It is. There's so much that we've just swallowed because am I lying? They tell you were born here, so you believe you were born there. They give you a piece of paper and say, that's your birth certificate, so you believe that that's your birth certificate. You go into a grocery store and you go pick up an item on aisle 5, a jar of spaghetti sauce, and you look on the back of the jar of spaghetti sauce and it gives you a list of ingredients on this said spaghetti sauce. And because it's a label on that and it says that these ingredients is what makes up this spaghetti sauce, we believe it because it's on the label. Do we know that emphatically? Nope. Am I lying? Am I lying? Do we know that emphatically? Personally, as a matter of factly, that those are indeed the ingredients in that jar of spaghetti. And if any of us are so courageous and bold as to be honest, then the resounding answer is going to be no. We assume that we assume that whatever they're telling us is, because it says here and they put it here. We came out and abracadabra and we were born, and they told us that your name is this. And when you got of a certain age, they gave you a piece of paper so you can use that, and blase blase. But do you know that to be true emphatically? No, you don't. That's just what you were told. All you know, you're switched at birth. And I'm not saying this to make some of y'all, like feel some kind of way, but it's just like, it's a thing. You know what I'm saying? It happens. Especially the older you are. It's harder possibly in 2025. The tech is too tight. People in there with their phones and cameras, and nigga bring your ass up in here, whoop. You know what I'm saying? This shit gonna be hard. It's gonna be, gonna be hard now to be being weird and shit. Okay? being weird. But the older you are, the more likely that that could have been a possibility. 70s babies, hell yeah. You don't know. Shit. Black folks and always, listen, shit, black folks, black folk, they've been trying to make it big like the massa for a very long time. And there was a point in history where they're willing to do anything for it. It's still happening to this day. House niggas wanting to be a house slave. So shit, if you know what I'm saying, if you wasn't convenient, you know what I'm saying, let's call it now. Yeah. If your existence was a monkey wrench in the game, baby. So for some of us, that's what's been following us. The people that are afraid of you figuring out who you are. And the people that are afraid of what that might cost them if you did. The people that are afraid of what that's going to do to their reputation. You hear everything that I'm saying. You don't hear no humanity in it, do you? All that you can hear is what might happen to, you know, their reputation. What kind of money might they lose? That's the only thing you can hear me say, huh? Because that's the only thing that they fucking care about. And it's the only thing that they always have cared about. Which is why they did what they did to begin with. They do not see you as a person with a life and a divine, you know, purpose of being here. And they don't look at how that affected you and impacted you, your health and well-being, your children, because none of that is relevant to them. What's relevant to them is their cushy life that they've gotten off of the blood of you. Child. Shortcuts, see? And these people were taking shortcuts. And that's not uncommon. People in Hollywood, you know, even the ones like Ice Cube, there's certain different ones that come out and they talk about how they're not a part of the club. You know, and as a result, maybe they got stipend, you know, on some level because they refused to be a part of the club. You know? And so what I'm trying to say is it's like that. You know? People are still doing that. It's still common. They're still on that. Trying to have a come up at the expense of you. Looking for a shortcut. Because they, you know, or just feeling like they're not going to have an opportunity because all of the doors are gonna slam if they don't comply to these dirty games and these dirty rules. And what's funny and fascinating about that is these are some of the same people that they've recruited are some of the same people that ends up crying and whining, because they do, especially especially when targeted individuals yeah, they end up crying and whining about the little inconveniences, and I'm saying little, the little things that starts to happen, which tells you they can't handle shit. I'm just gonna call it. To me that's a tell. It's a tell. They can't handle shit. The things that they have done to some of you and your children's whole life, they can't even fucking handle just a little smidgy of inconvenience that they start to get when things get a little rocky and a little shaky. They're crying like weak little girls. Wee! Whining like little bitches. Wee! Ain't you a big bad 6 foot wooty woo, nigga? Like, the fuck? Ain't you the most powerful witch in the United States of America? Ain't you the most powerful witch in the United States of America? Ain't you one of the most powerful in the United States of America? Why are you crying, nigga? What you crying for? What you whining? Yeah, they can't take shit. That's how I learned that. I'm like, oh, none of these people they not what they seem. They not what they seem. Their strength is in their illusions. Their strength is in their illusions. Their strength is in their illusions. Their strength is in their illusion. Their strength is in their illusions. 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 Their strength is in their illusion. Their strength is in their fancy schmancy shit. Rip that away from them, and you'll see them like wither up and dry up and fold right before you, right in front of you, because they not shit. You take away their little surgeries, their little implants, their little Botox. You take away, you know what I'm saying, their fucking fancy schmancy shit. You take away their little clicks. You take away, yeah, take it away. They will wrinkle up, fold up right in front of you. That's how you know. Because power is, baby. It ain't about if you can get Botox this week. Power is, baby. Essence, embodiment, sovereignty, command. It is. Even when you are stripped bare, even when, yeah, you don't have all the comforts of those things. That's where true power is even realized. I'm going to say this again. Anybody can be powerful, or at least appear that way in a group. Anybody can appear powerful and great with a posse. Anybody, and I mean anybody. Anybody, if they have a fucking entourage that's doing all the various different tasks that they can't do, that ain't power. Not in my book. How come they can't stand alone? No, that's all that's all I'm gonna keep saying. How come they can't stand alone? How come? Why? I wanna know. Yeah, man. Are they scared? Are they scared? Why though? Aren't they powerful? Why? Don't you wonder, collective? Why are they afraid of you? While pretending to not be afraid of you? Because see, again, when you operate in bulk, you can act like you big and bad. When you have a whole slew of people, you can put that show on. You can act that way. But what are they afraid of? What are they afraid of? With one person, because let's put it, because it's you versus them. So if it's just you, what are they? If it's just you, what are they afraid of? If it's just you, what are they afraid of? If it's just you, what are they afraid of? If it's just you, what are they afraid of? If it's just you. They didn't have several ops walk up and down the sidewalk this entire life. I don't care. They didn't have several of their whole asses. Couples, white ones, all colors, old niggas. Oh wait, I wonder which one. They might have had. Now, let me back up because I forgot that some are my people. So, several of the ops have walked past here, and possibly one that's one of the ones that are on my side. Out of all the trash that's circulating around her. So that's interesting. I wonder if it's the one that I think. That's interesting because there's been several since I've been on this live. And so that means that they are watching these people circulate. They're watching the traffic. They're watching the other people who are walking. Ah, I wonder. I wonder if the one is the one I think. But anywho, somebody's gonna say, how do I know? Because when you're a targeted individual, that's what it is. Like they're watching. They're watching. Because you live on the street with the traffic, then the ones, this is how it goes. I'm gonna help you. So somebody in a car, okay, I'm gonna help you. Somebody in a car, they're on their network. It's technology, baby. Text the group. Put it in the group chat. They're sitting on the patio. And it's as simple as that. That's one shot. They're sitting on the patio. And then all of a sudden, you would think it's Macy's Day Parade. How much traffic seems suddenly appears, and how many people's dogs suddenly need to be walked, and how many people are suddenly walking this direction that you never see do it. Remember, I'm someone who recognizes patterns. Some of them, they want, like, what we've learned on this path is they want you to see that, but they're hoping to get you into some kind of, it's the baiting, okay? It's to make you uncomfortable. It's the, the little sorcery, weirdy shit, but it's also the baiting. Oh, I'm fucking them up good and plenty. I know I am. I know. Because I keep throwing in sidewinders and shit, twisters and shit. I keep throwing in, and good, because this is my life. And it was this mistake of theirs coming from me. This is my life. And I'm gonna make them pay. And I don't have to break not one law to do it. Shortcuts versus sincerity. They target people, recruit people that lacks integrity, because that's going to be the people who are most likely to want to do dirt. So, people who are cheaters, people who have loyalty issues or loyalty to the wrong things for the wrong reasons. They recruit bigots. It depends on it depends on what the cause is. They're going to recruit bigots. They're going to recruit zealots. They're going to recruit all these various types, because these are people who are going to be more likely to join. If you're a racist and the person is African American, you're going to be more likely to want to do crazy shit because you got your ancestors' trashy ways running through your veins, running through that mind of yours. You still think you're superior. The shit is actually the other way around. Which is why y'all do what you do to begin with, huh? Another video. Another day. Because why you trash then? Why you trash? Why you do what you did? Because you got mental problems. Something wrong. Primitive. Missing opposing thumbs. Children of the Corn. Consciousness, you don't have any. Empty. Empty vessel. That's why you can do what you can do with a straight face. And actually believe it's something good. Now, if they're sexist, then they'll target. If you're a woman, then they'll target, recruit people who are sexist, even if it's closet sexist, sexist. They know what the traits are. If it's ageist, if it's colorist, if it's whatever it is, because you can bet your bottom dollar they are exploiting all that they can possibly exploit. If they have issues with the disabled, they're going to recruit somebody who does to get them. If they look at the disabled or the differently abled, that's what they do. And then they will, so this is why your relationships and these, it ain't been you ain't did nothing wrong, ain't nothing wrong with your mind, you ain't tripping, you ain't sensitive, you're not just going through, it ain't just because you're on your period and because you perimenopausal, because this shit been going on for all that, so they need to just dismiss that. So it ain't none of that. It ain't none of that. This is a game. At your expense, which ends, depending on you, turning the individual, where you take this at some point, which is going to end in tragedy for each of them. Because that's the judgment. It's going to end in tragedy for every player. And these tragedies are going to look different for all of them. This ain't, no. This ain't fear-mongering. This is justice. It's not fear-mongering. It's justice being enacted. It's justice being enacted. The crooked judicial system has got to have their asses handed to them one way or the other. That's what I mean. Okay? Whoop. So it wasn't because you wasn't a good person. It wasn't because you were not good enough. It wasn't because you were high maintenance. It wasn't because you... That's all a head fuck. Because some of these people are out here doing acrobatics for bitches and niggas who don't even give two flying fucks about them. So it didn't have nothing to do with you high maintenance and you too, or even you cheating. Most of you, that ain't the case, but all of these things just be lies. Because again, let's just be honest. Let's just be real for but a few moments. Most of these motherfuckers out here in these here streets are still doing acrobatics for motherfuckers they know emphatically are hoeing. Okay? That they know, that ain't a shadow of a doubt, that they already have mad proof, okay, that they hoeing and cheating, and they still doing acrobatics. So to try to use, the excuse of, oh, they're too high maintenance, and oh, they cheated, which in most cases is a lie. Oh, they're a gold digger. Again, most cases is a lie, and they out here in these here streets still dealing with motherfuckers who are actually gold diggers, and they know that they gold diggers. So that ain't it either. Because some of these people are so outlandish with it, you'd have to be a dummy 100% to not see that that's the case. That was head fuck, collective. When you see this video, all of that is a head fuck to make you feel like you too much for existing. You're too much. You're too much. For requiring respect and reciprocity. Meanwhile, there are people going about giving respect where they should be given dishonor. That makes my stomach turn. That is where I dropped right there. I was like, oh, hell nah. Motherfuckers out here respecting trash. Respecting dishonorable things and being disrespectful to the honorable. Fuck that. Fuck that. That's why I was like, oh, hell nah. Hell nah. That's how you know, though. All the smoke that they try to blow up your rear about shit. No, you with a hoe today, nigga. No, don't give me that. You with a disrespectful, money-hungry, highfalutin hoe right now. Reverse this shit as it pertains to, you know, flip it for the dudes. You know, however this fit. They be lying. You with a drunkie now. You with a fucking junkie. Don't act like you not, nigga. Don't act like you not. You with a junkie. Just because they got on Chanel don't mean they're not a junkie. You with a junkie. You with somebody with shopping addiction. Just because they got a badge don't change that either. Willing to do anything for their habits. Yeah, that's what this has been. And these are the folks they recruit. So these are the people that smile at you and your children every day. These are the ones that say hi, hey. Some of them try to make small talk. These are the ones that try to give you stories like they're, you know, all for civil rights and philanthropists and, you know, all of that. Yeah. Again. Soulless. Primitive. And this is going to go into my next live conversation. People wanting the aesthetics, this external version, they want Christianity. They do not want Christ consciousness. Christ consciousness is not what people think it is. Christ consciousness is actually the point for every being. Christ consciousness is not a religion. It is not a denomination. It is not a culture. It's not a coven. It's not a clique. It's not a cult. And it's also not about worshiping of a God external to you either. Most of the people that we are surrounded by, especially in the South, but everywhere, they're colonized, whether they know that or not. And they are subscribed to this external Christianity in which they have been fed, but they have no desire for true Christ consciousness whatsoever. And it is evident in their conduct. They think Christ consciousness is not going to the club no more. They think Christ consciousness is not drinking liquor no more. They think Christ consciousness is being sure to go to church on Sunday and Wednesday and put tithes and offerings. They think Christ consciousness is about not saying curse words anymore. They think Christ consciousness is about dressing all pious and like you're fucking anyway. They think Christ consciousness is about, denying all of your worldly, earthly pleasures, pretending to do that anyway, because in truth, they never actually do. They just pretend to do it anyway. They think Christ consciousness is about, depending on what their story is, not doing drugs no more, not drinking no more, not going to the club no more, staying at home, getting a 9 to 5 job and a 401k and paying the bills and having a barbecue and go to Big Mama house on Sunday. They think Christ consciousness is about polites. Yes, ma'am, and yes, sirs, and cursing and shit, bitch. They think Christ consciousness is an outfit in a song you sing. They think Christ consciousness is communion and wearing all white on the first and third Sunday. They think Christ consciousness is going out here to the here and the byways and the highways and the here and the yonders and recruit thus thou thee and compel them thus. While simultaneously being a killer, a stalker, a pedophile, a human trafficker, an organ trafficker, while simultaneously making dirty deals with the devils that are within them and their own community, while simultaneously putting people on black markets, doing things for nefarious reasons, while simultaneously doing baneful ritual work on the disabled and those who can't speak or defend themselves, while simultaneously attempting to unaliven and poison people for hire, while simultaneously forging documents so they can get a Ford Focus, while simultaneously bearing false witness and false testimony in order to entrap someone that's innocent, while simultaneously putting their kids' shitty diapers on the back of a disabled person's patio because they're mentally ill and got some kind of mental problems that they didn't get resolved, hung up on a nigga, bitch, the home girl, whatever the fuck, while simultaneously taking deals to be the noisemaker, to disrupt someone else's home, a disabled person's ones at that, while simultaneously, oh, I'm going here. The world's gonna know what the fuck these people really are. They think, how many crosses could they purchase? How much Christian paraphernalia can they buy? Can they put in their cars and their homes and say in their conversation to allude to the thought that they are so Christian? Every 2 seconds, Christian, Jesus, Bible, church. While simultaneously fucking their homegirl's husband. While simultaneously molesting somebody in their own family. While simultaneously stealing inheritances and properties that belong to other people, while simultaneously getting insurance policies illegally on people, getting fraudulent powers of attorney, while simultaneously attempting to put poison in people's food, delivering it with a smile. Are you hungry? Are you okay? While simultaneously See, that's the Christianity they want. That's the Christianity that they are. Frauds. Has nothing to do with Christ consciousness. They want to sit up and prophesy. They want to sit up and have debates and conversations about, this is the end times. Careful, lying prophets, at the end of the days, it said, bitch. Well, you know what it should have said? It should have said that you're a lying whore. It should have said that you're a lying cunt and that you're a lying fuck. That's what it should say. You want to talk about what we need to be careful of? See, they can't even be careful of real toxicity, but they do want to talk long and hard about doctrines and teachings and so forth and so on. But they do not want to talk about the dysfunctionality within their ranks. They do not want to talk about their mental illness. They do not want to talk about the fact that they're frauds. They do not want to talk about the fact that they're whores and liars and thieves. They want to talk about, you can't be just listening to anybody, in the last days, men will become lovers of, all that talking. Meanwhile, you's a hoe, you a full-fledged whore today. Are you going to talk about that? If you talking about men going to become lovers of pleasure, are you one of them? Because you's lovers of money. That's why you sold out, nigga. Are you gonna talk about that? The Bible says, and the Bible, right? And so why are you a stalker then? The Bible says, that's what it says. Do unto others as I. Right. So then I owe you 3 shitty diapers in abundance on your lawn and your balcony. It says be a good Samaritan. That's what he wants us to do, is help those who cannot help themselves. The good Samaritan story. Right. And I'm kind of sure if you trying to reference that, it shouldn't be having no shit in it. It shouldn't be laced with some kind of weird substance, and it certainly shouldn't be laced with your contempt. They want Christianity matrix system because it gives the illusion of piety. It gives the illusion of we're good. And we're going to have our long preaching. We're going to get hyped. We're going to hype you up. We're going to bank on your pain and trauma. And we're going to tell you that there's always hope. Your season is coming tomorrow, bitch. Your season's tomorrow. It's always hope. We're going to hope and not doubt. And you will be okay. Meanwhile, we sitting pretty, ain't we? Our whole ass. We over here eating good, sleeping good. We ain't praying and lamenting for shit. Now, depending on the sector, if it's in the Po community, well, that's become a part of the identity, pain and suffering. So it's like, yeah, we praying with it, it's always these extremes. See, people lean into the prosperity, but then you got to lean into the suffrage, the Po message too. So you supposed to sit up and suffer while everybody else is sitting pretty and wait for your surprise, your wonderful prize later. Off of your energy though, because that's energy harvesting. Your labor, your dedication. your praise, your worship, all of that. It's been nonstop traffic. And let me give you all a clue and a tip. On average, at some point during a day, it gets it gets very it's like not a lot. It gets less and less and less and less and less as hours pass. So I'm doing my own little science project. Remember, there's nothing that I do that doesn't have a purpose behind it. Someday somebody gonna catch that. The most minute move I make, there's something to it. Do you all think that I didn't think that they would do this? Do you think that I wasn't smart enough to know that they would start walking up and down and driving up in circles? Like that I didn't have the cognizance to know that the activity would get activated because I'm seen on the patio? I knew that it would increase. I knew that noisemakers would come, horns, loud cars, revving up. I knew all of that. I knew that rando people all of a sudden is walking their dogs and walking. I knew that. I banked on it. I knew that even some of them, is driving around, doing their little rituals or, chatting and whatever they're doing. I'm aware this was strategic. Because some people may be thinking I'm not, like, she don't know it. Yes, I do know. I actually do. That's why I do some of the things I do. Because they can't help themselves, which works for me. Okay? Now, let me go ahead and wrap this up because I got something else I got to do. To the real motherfuckers that see this video, it was never you, baby. You didn't deserve it. You didn't do some crappy shit from another life. You've been dealing with a bunch of degenerates. Okay? Criminally insane people. A bunch of corrupt degenerates is what you've been dealing with. Starting with your kinfolk, your origins, and everybody else who they have hired. Okay? That's what this is. Now, that should lift or will lift your spirits. It's going to build some confidence because their head fuck dissipated. They've benefited as long as they can make you think it's you. As long as they can get you to depersonalize, as long as they can keep you split, as long as they can get you to accept their sorcery, as long as they can keep you triggered and activated and reactive to do, as long as they can keep that going. But the more you align and you command, this starts to dissipate. It's dissipating as I speak, which is why they increase. You can almost see their anxiousness. I can see it. I can see it. Even though they try to like smile and smirk and they try to look, I can see it. I can smell it. I can feel that they're anxious. Yep. That's the thing about empath. I can feel that they're anxious. I can feel that they're nervous. I can feel that they're scared. I can feel that they are wheels trying to bother me, trying to some kind of an energy. They're spinning. Right now, I'm trying to figure out. She's gonna. You gotta. Yeah, they don't know. Some of them are hoping she ain't gonna file, she ain't gonna file. I was just saying that, yes, she is gonna file. She ain't gonna file, yes, she is gonna file. She ain't gonna file. Well, they said, you know, I had somebody do the reading. I'll just make sure you stay. Oh, I love it. I love it. Because you have to live like that when you're a low life. You gotta live like that when you've been on Team Toxic your whole life. You gotta live like that when you didn't build your livelihood, your reputation, and all that you've accomplished and attained on the blood of the innocent and on bullshit. That's why you gotta live like that. You gotta live like trying to cover your bases, trying to damage control, trying to because you're trash. Ah! And my kin, the ones that I came up with, oh, yeah. Let's just say I'm gonna enjoy this. Enjoy this. A bit of it.